My name's Nathan.
I'm here to teach you guys about irrigation.
Two different kinds of irrigation systems. There's the one that we're using here is drip irrigation.
We are dealing with things in the drip irrigation world that you're measuring gallons per hour.
Most sites at ECL, you're going to be running into this Weathermatic clock. I think that maybe there's a couple that have a weird old timer on them, but for the most part you'll be using the Weathermatic and Hunter nodes. Now the node is pretty much the same thing, just in a smaller package. When you're doing a maintenance visit, an irrigation maintenance visit, the first thing that you want to check is the 9-volt battery. Check the status of your battery. Make sure that you've got a full battery on there. The second thing that you want to do is turn the water off. Check, you want to bleed a little bit from the top of your filter, and then take your filter apart and clean the screen with the hose. Might not be a bad idea to get a cheap toothbrush, and so you can scrub it if it's really sticky.
Usually use my finger.
Yeah, you know, just spray it.
Whatever works. Yeah, spray it with
the
hose.
best thing, if you've got the hose and you've got a jet, just clean that. And you just want to go through and make sure that all of your pins are tight, and make sure you turn the water back on.
Yes.
I mean, the best way to do it is just to, if you've got a ball valve in line in your manifold, shut that off. That way you don't even have to touch the spigot. But all of these hose bibs will work with a standard water key, the 4-way water key. And really the biggest thing is running a manual test and making sure that everything's getting water and that it shuts off. The first thing you want to do is go to the 9-volt battery port here and put a 9-volt battery in your clock. This will run your system in case the power goes out. If a GFI trips, if they lose power, you've got enough for 2 or 3 days on there on a battery. Should anything bad happen, hopefully the client catches it before it's a problem. So you go through current time and date. Let's see what time it is here. 1:37. It's pretty straightforward. You up and down controls all your numbers. Next and back will put you forward through the menu. So at 1:47 p.m. Then it goes through. You press next, and you'll set your date, which today is the 30th. Somehow it knows it. Don't ask me why.
Cool.
This stuff is very fancy. It was probably set up in the shop when they built it, and it's retained somehow its settings. So we got our date correct, and that's current date and time. Then the next is program start times. You've got 4 separate programs. This is the kind of template that you're loading all of your timing into. That makes sense. So we'll start with program A. Your first start time is usually a time in the morning. I usually set them about, 5 or 6 a.m. to have your first run time. We'll set this one to 6. Under program A, then you can set your second run time, and we'll do that in the evening. Like I was saying, you've got 4 programs that you can load your times into. So program A, it's set to come on at 6 a.m. and we've got another one at 7 p.m. What you'll do then is go to your zone run times, and that all corresponds to how many zones you've got in your manifold. This, because it's set up for 4 zones, will let you go through each zone and then specify a runtime for each zone that will happen according to the timing that you put in at your program start time. So at 6 a.m. and at 7 p.m. we're going to set this valve to turn on for 10 minutes. Your master valve comes on every time, no matter what. If you were to set up your second valve, your second zone, you go through and set each valve's runtime independently. And those will all come on according to what you've loaded in to the program start time. So now what we've done is set zone number 1 to go on for 10 minutes every time program A runs. So the way that we've got it set up now, you set your zone to 10 minutes. That's going to run at 10 minutes twice a day, because that's the way that we've set program A. If you wanted another cool down cycle, we'd go back to program start times, and then you'll go into program B and say we want that a couple hours before our last run time. The only reason that you really want to create a different program is if you want to change the run times,
For
the actual amount of time that
So,
water's
like, let's
coming
say
out. We then click down to days to water.
Yes.
So you press next. The way to turn these on and off is the up and down. Right now you're probably doing 2 or 3 days a week. So let's say we want to set this for Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You'll go through on Sunday and you press down to turn it off. You press next, it cycles through the days. We want Monday on, so we're good. Tuesday off. Wednesday off. Oop, no, we wanted Wednesday on. Thursday off. Friday on.
Saturday.
Yeah. So that is under program A. If you have other times set in different programs, you're going to have to go through and set each day, set each program's days. The monthly, there's a seasonal adjust that you can set it to, you can add a percentage more, which really, yeah, I mean, it takes the job away from somebody. If you set the seasonal adjustment, you don't need to send an irrigation person to the job, and then you don't get paid. The last thing to explain about this clock are the manual programs. So this one's pretty self-explanatory. Manual program. You'll click through and select program A, B, C, or D, whichever one you want to run, and that will run you through the entire time that you have set for each program. Manual test is a selection that you can, it's just a few seconds just to make sure that things are working. And then manual zone, of course, is just the zone that you want to focus in on, and then you set up to 10 minutes, I believe. So we're doing any of these manual tests that you want to run. You'll just enter the information and set everything back to run, and that's it. You can hear our, there they go.
Oh.
Any of these, if you're messing with your settings, don't, some people will forget and just leave it kind of selecting one of these. Always make sure you're back to run. Instead of a dial, you've got this arrow button, and that acts as your dial. So the first thing is it'll take you to set the time. You press forward, it stays in the same menu. Today is
Bless
the
you.
30th. Forward, set AM, PM. So that's the end of that section. So this acts as our wheel. We'll go to the next thing. This is same deal, program start times. You see you've got program A. You'll set each run time. So what we did 5 a.m. and 7 p.m. 5:15. This will be run time number 2, or start time number 2, I should say.
On the tools.
Yeah.
Start time. Okay.
Start time number 2. You'll set that sometime in the evening or in the
7
afternoon.
Okay.
You press forward, it gives you again four start times on this one. And then the next in the menu has the little hourglass in it, and that's your zone run time. So we'll say for those 2 run times, we'll set it for 10 minutes. The last in the menu is to set your water days. Same deal, forward and backwards, minus to shut it off, plus to turn it on. As you're cycling through, I think that's it. It does have a seasonal adjust. Always make sure that that's set to 100. The last, after the seasonal adjust, there's off, which you'll need to turn it off at the end of the season. But make sure that it's back to the clock when you're done adjusting. And that's good to go. That's pretty much the same as turning it to run. If you want to run a manual program on here, you hold program and the little hand pops up. You set the time and it will go. This bundle is spaghetti pipe. These are an unregulated just spray of water. These have these weights on the end to keep them in your box, and you just give them a spin, and this one, yeah. You just give them a spin and
You can see
tighten
them
down.
open and close.
For the spaghetti emitters, I always put them in the direction that your water is coming in. So if we've got our water flowing this way, you're going to want the opening to be towards the flow of the water. So you would take your little awl, without stabbing yourself, open up a small hole in the direction of the flow. We'll say that it's coming from here. Open up a small hole and then feed it through. It's nice in the summertime when if your pipe's a little warm, it's a lot easier to work with. And I would say, push it in 2 or 3 inches just to really secure it. You can give it a tug if it's and check to see if it's caught in there. If you're going to be adding more than one, stagger your holes. So I kind of do just offset your holes so you're not running them and getting everything kind of jumbled up in there. It makes life a lot easier. Winterizing the system, depending on the building, you're going to shut off the water at the hose bib, and then you might have to shut off the water inside. There's usually notes for that on how to do that. There's usually a valve there that you'll just run into a bucket or into a bowl or something, and make sure that the pipe from the outside is clear of water so it doesn't explode inside of their wall. Secondly, you're going to disconnect your manifold from the water source, and you'll have a compressor with you. So you can go through, you'll hook your compressor into, for our purposes,
Yeah, there we go.
Let's say we got one of these hooked on. You'll hook your compressor up, go to your clock, and then go to a manual to whichever zone you want to blow out. If possible, open up the ends of your supply line to get it, so you're not trying to press all of the water through emitters. If you can open the end of the line, it comes out very quickly and
And you know when
saves a
it's
lot of
done
time.
too, because
Yeah.
it stops.
Yeah. We've got our compressor hooked up to our manifold. You're going to go through to each zone and run it for 5 minutes or so. Click it back to run. You would turn your compressor on. Blow all the water out of each zone. When you're finished blowing everything out, you'll set your clock to off. Go inside. You can leave it plugged in so you don't lose your settings. Go inside and disconnect the battery so it doesn't corrode over the winter. Usually just leave it in there. That's that. And that's it.
Cool.
Well, then after you've blown everything out, you just loosen all the parts of your manifold.
Right, including the pins, right?
Yep. Loosen the pins, tape over any openings so no furry friends or bugs get in there, and you should be good to go.
I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to say all of that over